on Facebook, but I think YouTube and LinkedIn wasn't live yet. So we'll start again. Start again. Okay, so my technical team is dialing in again. Let's see in a second. We love technology, but it also has its
All the
its
time.
thing. Yes,
We're all used to the hiccups now for sure.
yes. YouTube is up and running now. Just got my technical team to say that. So we're just waiting on LinkedIn, which I see is checked off. But LinkedIn is always the one that's last, I notice. Okay, so we're also live on LinkedIn. So great. So welcome to our first live broadcast from Purpose Center Leadership. If you are viewing, please put your name and your comments, your name in the comment box and what state or country you are dialing in from. Would love to say hello to you. We have two very special guests today that would love for you to hear from as they have some great nuggets to share. So we'll ask them to introduce themselves in a minute, but we just wanted to know if you're viewing, please put your name and what state or country you are viewing from. So Nathaniel and Trea, welcome to our first live. You're our first two guests on our show and well deserving, well deserving. Hi, Jennifer from Maryland. Thank you for hopping in. Hi, Ariane from Amsterdam. Hi, Gary from Syracuse. Darlene from Ohio. Francine from Houston. Thank you for joining us today. We're so excited for our first broadcast on Purpose Center Leadership, and we're so thankful for your loyalty to our page. Hi, Kimberly from Florida. Hi, Vivian. My name is Sharon Gill, and I'm a co-founder of Purpose Center Leadership. We believe that leadership goes beyond profits, that it should have a higher purpose. We operate from Sharon Gill International. We are consultants in the leadership space. We coach both entrepreneurs and leaders to take their companies and themselves to the next level. And today we are so pleased to have Trea and Nathaniel, who participated in our leadership quote challenge 2 weeks ago. And I want to read some stats. Hi, Diane. I'm Mohammed from Somalia, Vancouver, South Africa. Thank you so much for joining us and for supporting us. So Trea and Nathaniel were two of the top 10 finalists in our challenge. And I want to read some stats. So Nathaniel's post received 1,152 likes, 61 comments, 29,536 impressions, 243 shares, 1,201 clicks. And Trea's post received 1,100 likes, 51 comments, 23,229 impressions, 278 shares, 969 clicks. So we couldn't decide who the winner was. So we put a poll on several pages and it came back out equal. So we have decided that there were no clear winners. So they are both tied and they will be receiving a $25 gift card from Amazon within the next 24 to 48 hours. So they could buy more leadership books.
That's awesome.
Yes, thank you so much for your participation. For all those who participated, we had some great entries, and we're going to be using some of those over the next few days. And the comments are really lighting up, so I can't say hi to everyone, but Mississippi, Indiana, Virginia, Kenya, Tanzania, and some places I cannot even pronounce. Thank you for being here. So ladies first, we're going to ask Trea to introduce herself real quick and her company's name, and then we're going to get into some questioning. And if you guys have questions for our panelists, please put them in the comments. So Trea, why don't you introduce yourself? I'm going to maybe bring you up a little bit tighter.
Okay, sure. Yep. Thank you, Sharon. So my name is Trea Kelly. I'm with Alchemies. So I'm a district business leader in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area. I've been with my organization now for about 4 years, but I've been in the industry now for about 25 total. So thank you so much for having me on. Nathaniel, you were a very tough contender, so congratulations to you as well. I must say, though, this was kind of a fluky thing that I just entered and definitely did not expect it to turn out this way. So I'm super excited and very humbled to be here. So thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Nathaniel, why don't you introduce yourself and your company?
My name is Nathaniel Patterson, and my company is a culture of excellence. We primarily do ideation, coaching, and training with entrepreneurs and career professionals. And I'm telling you, I visit your site all the time, and I saw the contest, and I said, "Nah, I'm not going to put anything on this." I was reading it, and then I put one on there, then I put two on there, and then it's like, okay, I really didn't expect it to go this far. Yeah, I'm humbled though. I'm humbled.
And I'm so honored because, I had the thought, I'm like, I'm going to do a quote because I have to come with all these quotes or go and find quotes, right? And I'm like, my brain is like tired. So I'm like, these people are our leadership experts. Let me ask them to give me some ideas. And it pretty much evolved into this awesome, very, very engaging situation. We ended up having over almost 200 entries. Wow. So it was hard to pick 10. Wow. So I stepped back and had other people help me to pick the final 10. And so I tried to be as fair as possible. I had no favorites in the show. I just put the top 10 that I felt would resonate with the audience, and voila, here we are today on our first live, introducing our top 2 people. And I know we have a bunch of people who are dialing in. So for our first question that I have for the panelists, in your opinion, is there a distinction between leaders and managers? And how can we best equip first-time managers? I have my own opinion, but I'm going to let you guys answer. Trina, why don't you go first?
Okay, sure. So, yeah, I absolutely believe that there is a difference between managers and leaders. I feel managers to me are very much transactional, very much task-oriented, kind of tend to set objectives, kind of follow the status quo, where I look at leaders just kind of the complete opposite. I look at it as more transformational, very people-oriented, setting a vision, creating a vision with the people who work with you, and really having the opportunity, I think, to shape the culture, not only of your direct team, but also, rolling up to the entire organization. As far as like first-time leaders, what I would say there, as far as equipping them, I think anything that you can do leading up to officially having that role with the true title will really serve somebody well. So the emerging leaders programs, really getting immersed in any kind of, experiential learning. I think all of those types of things are really, really valuable. And then just having really strong mentors, sponsors, anybody who can give you some on-the-job training, even if you're not necessarily in the role, but give you some scenarios to work through and really just help you understand what it's like day to day before you get into it. I think those are the things that are really, really critical for people to feel very successful and walk in. Granted, until you're really in the job, you don't truly know, but the best that you have as far as a background and that experience that you have coming in will help better prepare you for it.
Okay, do you agree or disagree, Nathaniel? What are your thoughts on?
I might as well just drink my tea because she said everything. But there is a distinction there, but the primary distinction I see really is companies and the business culture. If you operate in the old environment or the new environment, as I say, I believe really that the manager should be entrepreneur and entrepreneur. And with that in mind, then they're more leaders than production coaches. Right now, the way we have it set up, a lot of the managers and supervisors are production coaches. And the leadership takes a long-term objective and strategic end of it. But I think we have to go beyond that because there are so many great ideas sitting on that front end. And because we don't allow that conversation to happen, it gets stuck in that front and never makes its way up to the top, But I think I do agree with her about preparing them, coaching, training, mentorship, sponsorship, and you got to know the difference in each one of those phases, but you've got to involve all that leadership development in there because too many companies take your best worker, and your best worker not all the time is not your best manager. Because there's some selfishness involved in that being the best worker. All right, and we're talking about teams. So yeah.
All right, so great. So here's where I come down on this topic, right, of managers and leaders. I'm a little bit more with Nathaniel on this one, and I'll tell you why. Having been in business myself for 30 something years, right? Dating myself, I know, but we the old model of managers versus leaders, transactional is true. That is true, Trina, but it shouldn't be because it's not effective. And Clifton wrote a book entitled "It's the Managers." People are leaving companies because it's the managers' fault. Because managers are put in positions of leadership without the leadership training. So we have managers managing people, but they're really leading people, or they're supposed to be, but they're in a rut or in a particular paradigm or in a particular box that says we do things, we lead processes and not people. And then people end up leaving the company because the managers were not trained to be leaders. And I think we should toss that model and train managers to be leaders. And like you guys said, get them the sponsorships and the coachings and all of that stuff. And I think we'd have workplaces that are actually more effective than the model of, let's say, 100 years ago, or even 50 years ago, where we have managers versus leaders. We should have leaders in organizations, even at the manager level. So that's my take on it, and I'm standing really firm on that because I have done it the other way, and it does not work. They need to be leaders. And I think one of you said, we sometimes promote managers prematurely. Earlier on in my career, I did that all the time. I took a good employee who was good and made them a manager without the equipping because I thought they would make a great manager. Then they couldn't lead anything. They couldn't lead people. They couldn't manage people. Total disservice. So I believe managers should have more leadership training. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thank you guys so much for your input. So my second question for you guys, what are some, because I've been asked this question from the audience. What are some effective strategies companies can implement to maintain a vibrant team culture in a remote environment? And this time I'll go with you first, Nathaniel, since we had Trina start first.
Well, I changed that. I really think that when we start talking about strategies, we get too much convoluted there. This is a people issue. People treating people fair. What we need to install, and I'm working with a lot of companies right now, is to instill that leadership and that trust first. The leader of that organization, whether it's a team or organization, has to instill trust. And the way you instill that trust is proactive communication, where you're investing in your team with resources and you're listening to them. If you instill that trust through the communication and be proactive with the challenges and resources, then you ask them to similarly communicate with you. What are their distractions? What's going to hold them back from being good team members? And then the last part I think you got to look at is minimizing the meetings, but maximizing the inclusiveness when you do have meetings.
So you're saying minimizing the meetings with the remote working situation right now, have less meetings. You think we're having too many meetings? Okay.
Yeah. I know we're having too many meetings.
I think we're a little bit all zoomed out because we didn't know what else to do, and we're trying to keep people engaged, but it can become, tiresome. So same question to you, Trina. What are some effective strategies companies can implement to maintain a vibrant team culture in a remote environment?
Yeah, so, I would say here, I think, when COVID hit, obviously none of us got a playbook on how to proceed.
Yes.
And, I think we've been writing it as we go. I think, we've been doing some things trial and error over the course of the year, but I think it really comes down to connection with people. At least that's what I've found to be really successful over the course of the year. So, I think connection comes in a couple of different ways. I think it comes through increasing communication that you have with folks. So, what I mean by that is, sometimes there's nothing to share, but that's okay. I would rather just have that high level of communication, because otherwise people write the ending to the story, whether that's positive or negative. They develop their own ending there. So I think, that's important to keep that level of communication really high. I think also from, a leadership perspective, when you talk about some of the higher levels of the organization, I look at, being able to take cues from some of the frontline folks because they understand the environment. They often have the best solutions. So listening to somebody like myself and my team, we're living it each and every day. So, help us help ourselves. I think another thing too is really just being able to point out sometimes the little things, the little successes, I think are really important. Sometimes, I think just a year ago, these might have been minor things that we would not have even looked at twice. But now pointing out those things really does make a difference for people. So it shows gratitude, it shows appreciation. The last thing I'll kind of say here, though, too, is I think what we've seen is just from a cultural perspective, kind of a blending of personal and professional lives, which that's okay. Like it's not a blur, it's a blend. And I think that's great because we've seen we've seen the kid in the background. We've seen the dog, or heard the dog barking. I mean, these are all things that are normalized, which I just love. So from a cultural perspective, anything kind of flies now, and that's okay. Like it hasn't made us less effective, and that's important. So I think it's made us get closer. I can at least speak for my team. I feel so much closer to them just seeing the day in and day out and getting to know them a little bit better. It's kind of forced that a little bit.
Lydia said something. Thank you, Trina. Lydia said something which is very important, the well-being checkups. Lydia, thank you for that comment. Working remotely can be challenging for many. And I know, Trina, you work in the mental health space, but your company does some stuff with that. So last year I was consulting with a client, and I wanted to just share a couple of things that really worked well. So I agree with both of you guys about the communication. And yes, Nathaniel, we can over communicate, but we have to communicate. And you mentioned, Trina, the blending of the personal and the business. I think it's so important for that well-being checkup because there were moms who had kids at home. There were people who were having real separation anxiety, real anxiety issues. I saw that. I had a front row seat to some of that last year as I was working with companies remotely. One of the things I remember one particular company did, they had a wind down Wednesday, right? Now, it was after 5, so you could bring your beverage of choice for coffee, tea, whatever your choice is, right? But what it did, I happened to attend a few of those wind down Wednesdays, and it was like putting work aside and just being people. And I think it's important that we as leaders recognize that it's not business as usual anymore, and it may never get back to that. Even with our vaccines, there's probably going to be some type of a hybrid, right? And so it is important to go a little bit beyond the status quo, a little bit beyond the formality, and recognize that people are having experiences that are new to them. They're juggling. And I think it's because we as leaders are juggling as well. And I think it's really important to even spend more time on team culture by showing people how much you care. Rather than asking, is that report due? Yes, is a report due? And how are you also doing? How's your mom doing? How's your dad doing? I saw that work really effectively last year to breed loyalty to a company. Even sending Starbucks gift certificates to people to go get something, or Postmates. Just little things to keep your team connected goes a long way. And I just wanted to reiterate that because, like I said, I was consulting with a company last year, and they really showed me how that was done. And of course, they used the technology too with Slack to kind of keep people together in little communities, and it just worked really well. Microsoft Teams, Slack, whatever you use. But it's just so important. Maybe, Nathaniel, where you said it were too many meetings, well, let's use technology just for even a check-in channel where everything is safe. Check in here. How are you feeling today channel? That people can honestly be honest with. All right. So my third question is, what is the most effective leadership strategy you have used to get the best result from your team? And we'll start with Trina first. Your most effective leadership strategy that you've used to get the best result from your team.
Yeah, so here I would say, as I thought about this, I thought about the course of 2020, and I had a team that won our top award. So I tried to really think back, what did we do? What was the difference? What strategies did we implement to get to that point? And I think it really came down to creating a shared vision. I think as we started 2020, of course, we had no expectations of what was to come. But I think it was really settling down and developing a goal, setting a strategy, but also getting their involvement in that strategy. They were part of the decision making, getting them to see it and believe it and understand which part they play. That was really the critical piece, I think, for me. And then it comes down to accountability and just measuring progress. So I think, all of those things for me, just with shared vision as a whole, I look at it as, building trust. It promotes engagement. It shows the level of support that I'm willing to give. And then, hopefully I think it's inspiring and it's motivating. We're all going towards something together. And, I think for us to be able to pull that through to the end just speaks volumes of what we put into it. So, yeah, for me, I'm going to make it as simplistic as that shared vision.
Well, okay. So could you instruct then a new leader, right? How could they communicate a shared vision? Who comes up with the vision? Is it you? Is it the team? And how does that work? And then I'll get to Nathaniel after. But when you said a shared vision and getting people to buy in, because that worked very well for your team won an award.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you implement that? How did you do that?
So I think it started in January. I mean, obviously, we're in an industry where we're given particular goals that we have to achieve. So that's pretty black and white as far as what needs to be accomplished. So, I think looking at the momentum that we had coming off 2019, I basically laid out for the team what we had in front of us, what our abilities could be. And so I think one of the major things that we did, and this sounds super simplistic too, but one of the biggest things that we did is we created a name that we had for our text stream. We called ourselves #PC2020. And that was really just the definition of who we wanted to be, who we felt we could be. And that helped us kind of stay really consistent in how we wanted to move forward. So, I think it was definitely a team play. I wouldn't get an award without the team component by any means. So I think just, me being able to kind of lay out what's possible, then being able to see it and believe it, and then just go out and do it and execute. I think, again, super simplistic, but that's the way we did it. We saw it and we believed it.
I think that's such a great idea. It's almost like your division was you've heard entrepreneurship, right? So
yep.
That the company had the overall strategy or the overall mission, vision, whatever, and you came up with your own sub vision that feeds off the company's vision. I like the fact that you guys came up with a name. It's almost like you were your own internal brand. Like entrepreneurship and you being a mini CEO within your organization. So I really like that. So thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Daniel.
Well, my default strategy automatically is transformational. I challenge people to be excellence, basically the best they can be. So what I'm doing really, and I kind of cultivated this over the years. I've served on 30 boards and probably had up to 600 employees reporting to me, but I also had 4 small businesses. So what I do is take the objectives. And from the objectives, we're going to work this thing out. We're going to look at it as a team and see how we can implement this. What are the resources? I'm going to put you in charge of things. I'm going to make you accountable. I'm also going to listen to you for ideas, because maybe we need to tweak this a little bit. And I need to get back up top and tell them, hey, this is what we found. I don't believe in anything that should be in a sacred cow. So I'm going to challenge my team to take this plan apart that leadership has put together and then put it back together so we can make it happen. But I'm also going to sit back and see how you're going to work it. So I really believe in challenging people to be the best they can be, and I get out of the way. I make sure you have your resources. I make sure you have the training and coaching, but I'm going to get out of the way.
Awesome. So both of you describe, the type of leadership I love, participatory, right? So you get your people involved, right? You guys talk about shared vision. You guys talk about going back to your team, because we know as leaders, if we don't have buy-in, it's not going to happen, right? If the people don't own the vision, if they don't share in it, if they're not passionate about it, it's not going to happen. So I love that. And that's the strategy that works. Top-down leadership no longer works. It worked back then. It doesn't work now. It's participatory. People can will just get up and leave if they don't feel that they're part of, of the solution, or even part of the planning process at times. And that's why I asked, do they get involved with the actual vision itself or not? And there's no wrong or right answer. I know in the past when I've worked, my husband and I had a law firm together, and when we were coming up with our mission, we actually did a staff-wide meeting, and we had people just put who they think we should become in our vision mission. We just had them just brainstorm who they think we should become for our next level of growth. And it was really interesting because they stretched us beyond where we even thought what was possible. And the beautiful thing was that then we had buy-in because it was their idea. So the more we can involve our people in that decision-making process, the more effective. So I know we're at the 30-minute mark almost, and I know you guys had wanted to jump off somewhere, but I'm gonna there's been a lot of comments. So if there's any question, I see comments, but if anyone has a question for any one of our panelists, please put it now before they skedaddle. Let's see. I think people were mostly agreeing with you guys. I'm trying to show some of the comments, but if there's a question for our panelists, I'd love to hear. So I have one last question that wasn't on there, right? So purpose-centered leadership, right? I'm big on corporate social responsibility. And the reason for that is my husband and I, we run a law firm for 23 years, and I run a charity for 16 years, right? And what I saw was that the corporations who supported my charity, they had such a good team culture at their organization because their team, their employees saw that their companies believed in something bigger than profits. So every year I would get a chance to speak to these employees in these different organizations and just sell them on the vision of what my charity was doing. There was so much buy-in, and there was like employee matching. So purpose-centered leadership is something that's very near and dear to my heart because I believe that when your people believe that you're not just about money, but you are about building community, helping those who are less fortunate, or environment, or whatever it is, there's a sense of loyalty and a sense of just pride that your employees have, and just a sense that they are part of something bigger than just the production line, right? So I just wanted to ask you guys, does your company do anything on the corporate social responsibility side? That would be my last question for you.
Yeah, I adopt a couple of things. The youth development, performing arts, and seniors. I work in that field, but what I tend to do to make sure, I only work with 3 nonprofits per year and the causes. So I change them up from time to time, change the organizations up, but it's still under those banners that I work under. Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. And it's not to put anyone on the spot, because and then those people are watching in the feed too. If you're not, just think about, like, Nathaniel works with 3 nonprofits. You could work with 1. Doesn't matter. It's not the number. Is just doing something. And I'll just say to you from the nonprofit side, I had companies giving me $500 a year. I had companies giving me $50,000 a year. Right? Honestly, I don't want to say it doesn't matter. It was the same feeling. Companies give what they could afford. It was knowing that there was a partnership in a corporation that was helping us to reach and help these people who are in need. It's not just a CSR on paper. It was that, okay, this company really believed in doing something to advance the cause of even some of their constituents who may be struggling. I remember Walmart approaching me at one point and saying, look, we have some employees who are in this community that they were struggling. They need your food pantry. They need your clothing closet. So we're going to partner with you at this other level, and we're going to, we're going to expose your charity to our people. So it was like a real win-win. So Trina, does your company do anything or plan to do anything in this space, in the CSR space?
Yes, we do. And, so in my role, I'm more customer facing and, so is my team, but we work in the mental health space. I would say every single person who works here for, the patients in that environment, they're very passionate about helping those. So yes, we do things on a larger scale organizationally that does help to impact, those folks as well as just people within the industry as well. So yes, we're super passionate about mental health. I can say for me, that's what drove me to this organization in general. So yes.
All right. Well, I am so, so, so honored to meet the both of you. Thank you again. Your posts, your quotes, and just the engagement was a real blessing to us and to our audience. And I wish you both great success in the future, in your business growth, in your department growth. Thank you so much for being awesome guests. And I thank the audience there. I mean, just a very lively discussion. I'll comment afterwards, but it was just wonderful having our audience here with us. And again, my name is Sharon Gill with Sharon Gill International. We coach and consult businesses at various stages, help them to get clarity, strategies for their next level, for their next step. So thank you so much. And we are signing off right now. Take care.